The most important question for all the addicts is, what's willpower?
For me, it's pretty simple. You understand what you have to do, you understand what's good for you, you understand what is the right thing for you to be in a better position.
This sounds so good. This is, excuse me, a psycho bullshit, but how does this work in a practical way?
It's a huge journey. It's really, really difficult, and most people don't go that far in it. Most people try a couple times, it doesn't work.
Why?
It's difficult. It's hard. You don't like losing.
The most important question for all the addicts is, what's willpower?
For me, it's pretty simple. You understand what you have to do, you understand what's good for you, you understand what is the right thing for you to be in a better position, and what you're required to do. So what you need to do to advance things forward or get your job done or lead a successful life, and the willingness to do that, the desire to do that. So saying...
But sorry, where did the power go? Because you left out the word power. For me, it seems like that there's no power in it. This is being self-aware.
Well, saying the word power means that it's basically an obsessive thing, that it's something that only a few people can have. Because if you have power, you have weakness. So you're saying that people can be weak. You're saying that it's something that only a few select people can have. But everyone can have willpower. Everyone has the ability to do that. It's just a matter of understanding how to get themselves, how to motivate themselves, how to get themselves to do what needs to be done. Because we don't always want to do everything we have to do during the day.
Okay, well, where does it come from, this skill, being so self-aware?
My perspective on life is one of the most important ways that we can help develop willpower in society and people and help encourage that is typically an easy way. There's so many things you get out of sports, and one of the key ones is willpower and understanding who you are and openness and knowing what you need to do to set goals. The life skills are really developed a lot of times through sports at a young age.
How would you work with an adult?
With an adult, I mean, you have to take it step by step. You almost have to break it backwards. Getting to know the person is the most important. Understanding who they are, understanding what actually motivates them, even if they don't understand what motivates them.
How do you find that out?
Well, just having a conversation, talking to them, finding out about their childhood, finding about their what they did, what they didn't do, why they didn't do what they did, asking a lot of really good questions and really getting them to start to talk, because over that conversation, you'll start seeing trends, you'll start seeing ideas, you'll start seeing human nature, you'll start seeing their human nature. So you'll start seeing what makes them tick, and understanding what makes them tick. Sometimes it's easier for somebody else to see it, such as a significant other or a best friend or even a complete stranger, versus someone to look in the mirror and say, well, this is who I am, because we're self-conscious people, and that's hard for us. I mean, it's human nature. You don't want to say, I'm this horrible person. So really getting it out there, expressing yourself, get someone opening up and talking and finding out what does motivate them. What's motivating them to do the little things that they are doing. They're doing stuff, so then what's motivating them to do that stuff? And can that stuff motivate them to do other stuff? And playing with it. And I think a lot of it's going to be slight adjustments, a trial error period.
So basically you reverse engineer, you go back and you are looking for patterns, and you take them and say that this worked in the past, it can work now, because this is the best way you perform, and we can adjust.
Well, it's a good place to start. It's a good place to start to say, okay, this has worked in the past. When you were young, you were in sports, and you did this because you were a little bit competitive. Okay, let me try a little bit of competitiveness. Let me see if that works. Does it not work? Okay, why did it not work? Let me know more about you. Well, you stopped being competitive, you had a bad experience, and it didn't really work anymore. So then you started doing things for another reason, and you keep playing with it. So you'll keep trying trial and error and seeing what really starts to click. And as you get a little bit of success, you can kind of either go deeper in that direction or you can go in a different direction with failure. If you are dealing with failure, it's not really a failure. It's just, it's one try. It's one less thing you have to continue to try. So
but this sounds so good. This is excuse me, a psycho bullshit, but how does this work in a practical way?
It's not simple. It's actually very complicated because it requires a lot of effort, time, and understanding. And most, if you want to say patience, the other person...
How do you do that? What's the technical part of this?
You have to have trust and you have to have involvement with that person because that person has to want to be working with you, has to want to trust you, has to want to be involved because it's not going to be easy. It's actually, it sounds really easy and it's one of those things you write on a piece of paper and it's like, oh cool, it's 10 steps. And you're like, what? Yeah, number 10 is if failure, repeat again.
Yeah, that's it.
That could be 10,000 steps. It could actually be a very big journey, but the thing is that you'll learn so much about the journey, so much along the way, that part will be even more valuable with all the failures. So you don't want to immediately go straight to the end. You want to fail, you want to adjust, you want to readjust, because in that process, you're going to figure so many different things out that are more valuable than the actual finish line, that it's a huge journey. It's really, really difficult, and most people don't go that far in it. Most people try a couple times. It doesn't work.
Why?
It's difficult. It's hard. You have to be motivated to do that. It goes around in a circle. You have that catch. You
need a deep enough why.
You don't like losing. It's just, it doesn't feel good. It makes your self-esteem, it lowers self-esteem, it lowers confidence levels, it lowers your attitude towards yourself. It makes you want to lay in bed, it makes you want to lay in the dark, curl up on a ball. It doesn't feel good for people. So understanding that the failure is actually a success, the failure is actually a learning experience, it's very difficult to get through to someone, and it might be easy for me to explain it to you right now. Okay, we're going to try something. If you fail, we'll have learned. You go, okay, cool. But after the 10th time, and I'm still like, okay, we're learning. You're like, I don't feel like I'm learning. It's hard. You have to constantly be able to do that. So it's constantly evolving. It's not going to be the same. Every try to learn something and figure out and you checking something off is huge progress. But it's also a chance for the patient, the person, the interconnection to be lost. So you're constantly evolving that relationship. You're constantly trying to re-evolve it, reconnect, re-establish it, and make sure it's growing, not slowly fading.
Who taught you this? Where did you learn this?
Over the course of a lot of trials and errors. I went to school for psychology, for kinesiology. I went to graduate school for sports psychology, performance psychology. So the concept of performance aspects for me is even paying bills a performance. It's an action. They're all the same. Whether you're talking about the 400 IM at the Olympic Games with a professional athlete who's 27, or if you're talking about someone who's becoming an adult trying to pay bills and do stuff, they're the same. It's just different. The same concepts, the same beliefs, the same development, but it's different actions. So us to do this interview, there's a performance aspect to what you're doing. There's a performance aspect to what I'm doing. It's the same performance aspects are involved as the 400 IM for Katinka at the Olympics, but it's not the same event. So we're not doing the 400 IM right now.
When do you give up on someone? Can that happen, that you start working with someone? Okay, now you're only working with Katinka, but a coach, when is the time when they give up and say that it's not worth the time?
As a coach, it's very simple. As soon as you want it more than the athlete does. Like actually, but not like for a period of time or they're struggling or like, okay, they're having a hard time. I mean, like as soon as it becomes very clear that you want their success more than they want their success.
But what are the signs?
For when I work with Katinka, I know I literally know each stroke, I know every portion of the race, I can actually read her mind. I know exactly what's going through her mind.
Every movement,
almost every
stroke,
single time. I actually can tell her, at this point, that's what you started thinking, and it threw the thing off, and you went sideways. And she goes, yeah, you're right.
She just told me that sometimes in her head, a shark is coming behind of her. Then you can see the shark.
I can't see that part. That's practice usually. Usually that's practice. But that's because I've been involved with her for about 8.5 years on so many different levels. So most coaches probably want to have that kind of level, but understanding what makes these people tick, understanding more or less what their family situation is, what their desires are, what their love life more or less is like. Do they have a girlfriend, a boyfriend? Are they trying to get married? Or is it not going well? Knowing generally this, I'm not prying into their private information or not having boundaries, but knowing this stuff, you'll know how they tick. So you know when there's a bad day, it's a bad day. You'll know their general attitude, baseline.
It's basically the same when I work with an addict. I have to see their inner motivation and to know what's important for them.
It's the same, but it's a little different because for me, they can go to another coach. So for me, it's not life or death. It's not, addiction is a difficult topic. So it could very easily lead to death, to very negative things, to very bad situations. So for me as a coach, it's a little easier. It's a very relatively simplistic. You'll start having conversations. You'll know, for me, the number one thing of importance for a coach is that the athlete has to buy in. So I provide a service. The athlete comes to me for a service. I would like help to achieve X, Y, and Z goals. Now, those goals are not mine. Those goals are theirs. I have me personally, I have no goals. The goals we're chasing, the ones we want, are Katinka's.
But probably you have goals. As a coach,
who's your coach? Personally, no. Personally, I don't have any particular goals. I work, well, you got to understand, my situation's a little unique. I work with my wife. My wife is my number one athlete. She's my athlete, my client, my business partner,
friend,
my best friend in the entire world. The list goes on, and I have so many hats I wear that I can fully give myself to what we're doing. I can honestly say there's goals I think would be cool, but then they turn around and it's cool because they're Katinka and it's Katinka's goals. There's these cool things. I would love to see her in 2020 win 4 gold medals in the Olympics. I'd love it because she almost won it in Rio, and I would love to see her go and achieve that because I know that she would love it, but not because I want it. I'm not saying you have to do it because I want this goal. As a coach, I want this. And I don't say I want another Olympic champion. Well, that'd be cool if it happened. It'd be cool if that worked out, but that's not, I have to have it in my life. It's not complete. The way I see things is that my service is to help someone else achieve their goals. Now, if I have goals, that gets in the way. So I have to be willing. If you don't want your goals anymore, then...
Who's your coach?
My coach?
Do you have a coach?
I've had a lot of coaches. I've had a lot of coaches.
I mean, as a coach, do you have a coach? Not as an athlete, but as a coach. Is there somebody coaching you?
Honestly, at this point, no, I wouldn't say there's any specific coach anymore.
How come?
Just because the path I've kind of chosen to take, I've kind of thrown myself into deep water very quickly. I've had a lot of good mentors over the time that have really encouraged me to see things from certain perspectives, to connect dots. I've learned a lot from different people, and then I've had a lot of people who were able to help me kind of connect those dots to really understand things on a much, much, much deeper level. My parents have continued to be fantastic mentors to me. But I understand that their knowledge in terms of actual swimming is very limited, and they helped me grow up. But in terms of the Olympic swimming, they tell me when I explain things, I have to explain it in a certain way that they can understand, and then they turn around and say, no, you're right, that makes sense, or this and that, so I can bounce ideas off them. And they've been fantastic sounding boards for me over my career, and they continue to be so. But in terms of a coach who's actually telling me, like, this is what I should do, I don't have anyone anymore because of the situation. I just kind of threw myself in the deep end. I said, look, Katinka, I'll be your coach, I'll be your manager, I'll be your agent, I'll be whatever you need me to be. I will wear whatever hat you want. And at any point you can fire me from any of those positions. That's your right. And there's no hard feelings. I only want to make sure that I'm helping you take a step in the right direction, whether it's a baby step or a giant leap.
So you told Katinka that you lead, I follow.
Well, I said I would do whatever she needs to do. I would do whatever she wanted me to do to help her chase her goals. Obviously, that was in the very beginning, about 2012, when she wanted to basically retire from swimming. And then I stepped up to be the coach. I figured out that I actually knew what I was doing. I was comfortable with it. And the evolution has become that the two of us are, we say we have a whole lot of hats, but I think none of them describe it better than business partners. I've always seen that the athlete has to teach the coaches, because the athlete's the one in the water, the athlete's the one that's doing it. So they'll start to learn stuff and evaluate. And while the coach is coaching them on their side, they're still teaching the coach, because there's constant back and forth.
Yeah, but I have the notion that this is a very unique perspective, that usually coaches don't think like this. I'm not in the professional athlete role, but this sounds a little bit unique for me.
That works for me.
It works,
cool.
as we can see.
I think it's harder than ego, to be honest. I give her ideas, I give this and that, and I know she can give me honest feedback back. So I know it's not just, okay, we're going to do this set today. And she goes, that's stupid. Why is it stupid? Because I'm tired. Like, no, it's stupid because it doesn't make sense for what we're trying to achieve. You're right. Let's tweak it this way. That works. So it's constant back and forth. So it's not just a one-person thing. You're seeing it from multiple angles. But that's easy to fall out of. The hard part is making sure you stay there, because when you have success, you can't let it go to your head.
How do you manage this? Where do you put your ego?
For me, it's you know, she's the athlete, you know. It's not really, I'm helping her. I'm just the man behind the curtain. I'm not the actor. The whole time of the Olympics, it was never about me. I never once thought about how that impacted me.
Can we say it's 50-50?
No,
you don't like ratios. I
The
know
ratios,
that you don't like ratios.
No, it doesn't, but none of that matters anyway. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, so in the end of the day, when she goes to a race, there's 20-minute period you have to be in the ready room. You have to show up to the ready room and check in for your race about 20 minutes before game time, before the race goes off. At that point, I give her a high five, a hug, a kiss, and slap her in the ass, and she walks in the ready room, and that's it. I'm done. Okay. I'm a witness. I'm a fan. I get nice seats because I get to stand on pool deck, but I'm a fan. I'm watching. Like I can watch, and I've watched the whole thing fall apart for one simple mistake, whatever it is. I watched the whole thing fall apart. Or I can watch the whole thing go epically amazing and she breaks the world record by 2 seconds. At that point, the most I can do is scream and yell and I can wave her on and she says she hears me and she sees me, but that's all I got. If the whole thing goes sideways because she forgot to, I don't know, put her goggles on right or something, nothing I can do. If she unties her shoelace and trips.
This is a great paradox you're talking about because the race is about numbers, and Katinka told me that she loves numbers.
Of course.
And you hate ratios, and those are numbers. So on one side, we have to win, and we want to win. That's the ultimate goal. But on the other hand, we don't want to win, because if we only focus on winning, then we're not going to win.
Exactly.
It's a paradox.
Exactly.
How can someone deal with a paradox like this?
Honestly. But that's what you have to figure out, and that's going to, it goes back to the same thing. It's going to be for every single person. There's going to be different ways to figure it out. I mean, the way Katinka handles a paradox like that is not going to be the way, say, you would handle that paradox. I mean, it goes back to psychology, it goes performance psychology. How do I get you to do what you need to do? Mm-hmm. How do I get you to think about the best performance of your life, but at the same time, that would essentially mean you're going to try and win, but at the same time, you're not obsessed about winning. You're holding the sand in your hand, but you're not holding it so tightly that it falls through your fingers. So I do like numbers. I love numbers. I don't like ratios because everything is interconnected, because everything is a paradox like this. It's all holding sand without letting it go through your fingers.
Yeah, addiction is a paradox also. I'm so happy that you were talking about this. Being a sports athlete, a high-performing sports athlete, is a paradox. Getting sober and recovering is a paradox. Mm-hmm. So thanks a lot that we could compare these two things. Okay, thanks.
You got it.
What's willpower?
For me, it's pretty simple. You understand what you have to do, you understand what's good for you, you understand what is the right thing for you to be in a better position,